So hello, this is my movements. My movements is about movements from Nirbeeja Yoga, what I call as sounds of life, or Mukamikarada. Basically, it's coming from sounds of silence, stillness, nothing. So, uh, my movements, I'm holding a stick here, but it's a bamboo stick. In AiKiDo terms, it's called a jo. Yeah? But this could stand for Jo. But a Jo is also a representation of the human body experience. Yeah? Our whole body, entire length, can be equated to a Jo. Yeah? It's almost my size, my height. Yeah, almost. That's a little bit. Yeah? But this is actually longer than what they would use for martial arts practice. But I've taken this to represent another aspect of what the Jo is. And this is really where martial arts and yoga come together. AiKiDo yoga, but the reference here is to I. If AiKiDo is spelled AiKiDo, and it means the way of peace. I'm referring not to the do or to the ki, which is the energy, the do being the doing, the actions, but I'm referring to I, as in, you can call it the I, the individual I, where the letter I has a top and a bottom, and it's stable. It's like a pillar between two posts. So this Jo is like the I. Yeah, just right in the middle. You can also call it the midline, you could call it the spine, but when you're looking from straight, you're going to see a straight. And when we have an I in place, then you're more centered, you're more an individual. At least have a center by which to, if you've seen the dark hole, yeah, the black hole, the center of a galaxy, and you're going to see it in perspective, in a way. There are two sides. One side begins, another side is the annihilation of it. There's the birth and there's the death. But together, what happens in between birth and death is life. So we're all born alone, we also die alone. And it's about when we're living, what it takes to live alone while we're amidst many crowds, while our body is also formed from the care and nurturing by many people. It's still our own individual life that we live, and our choices that shapes the world we live in. So what does it take to be alone while we are living? Informs part of, so people would like to be part of the video. So this is also what happens when we are living alone. So we have people who would like to be part of our lives, and then not losing ourselves in all of that, but continuing to do what we have to do, which is maintaining the I. Now this is for a representation for now. I thought there was something very important that I need to bring into attention, and that is this joint. It's called hip joint. Yeah. The leg bones connect with the pelvic girdle about here, and if you notice, it's not so smooth. It's a little jutty. Yeah, it's like a rat. And the pressures of our life, when they add up, is when we have these sticky outy bits. Yeah, these not so streamlined joints, but they kind of are a little out. If it gets a little too much, you would call me fat. We have our joints, and sometimes they look a little misshapen. The body, as you're growing up, they seem to be a little misshapen. It is also referring to the jaw going a little out of whack, because it's taken a little extra pressure on some of the joints, and then our body is looking a little out of whack. But it could just be that the pressure has built up so much that the joint has added on extra muscle to take on that weight. And then what does it take to get the joint in place just enough so that nobody is just sitting on you, and so that you are getting misshapen. And it's more like how much can you take? And so my movements, that is based on silence, stillness, nothing, Nirbeeja Yoga, is about how to move in such a way that we are deloading from our joints, so that our joints are coming back into how they need to be. So you're not carrying extra weight. It's called the lean mass. In my version, it's called the lean mass, where you're just having enough, not extra, so that somebody else is not doing their work. Instead, they're sitting on you, and you're taking the workload. And then your body is looking like you are really taking some load. And then they say you need to let off some baggage. The baggage may be some other people, or work that other people need to do, which you have taken on, and they can't see that, and you're looking misshapen, and they'll say you need to exercise to let off some weight. And the fact is you're actually taking on the load for somebody else, which means somebody else is not growing as well as they need to. So what does it take to let off the load in such a way that others are taking on what they have been reluctant to, and you're still there functioning, and they are also functioning better? Yeah. So my movement is about what is it, how do we do that? Because as we're going through the days, sometimes we notice that there are pains in some of the joints, some muscles are a little tense, some body parts are not as flexible as they need to be, and then you know that you're taking on the load for somebody else, or somebody else has sort of sat on you and are taking the advantage of not really, working with their own muscles and bones, and instead is kind of bouncing off of you and kind of taking a ride over you. This is where maintenance is required, so that you're making sure others are growing and being who they need to be, and not being a bump. And you're not being this too strong person working for others, when you're actually being the donkey, taking on the load for somebody else. I think this gives a little perspective, an intro, something to think about, your own body, by which you can begin to think about my movements in a new way. When I say my, it could be you, your life, the movements you make, so that you see your body in a way that you may not have before, or you see other people's bodies in a way that you may not have before, which is good enough too. Nirbeeja Yoga is very slow. You may think it is slow, but when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, or you're looking at somebody else, and you're seeing this perspective of life, of their body, of your body, versus any other that you have seen, it's going to take a little while, but you will notice that you're already beginning to let off some weight or burden of what you've been thinking of as weight. It may be even emotional burdens. It could also be your perspective of yourself, your perspective of other people, and all of this, processing that, understanding this, recontexting this. It's going to take a little energy, and it's already going to start burning some calories. Yeah, even just seeing life from these perspectives. You're going to need probably more vegetables, more water, so that your whole system, your body, emotional experiences, your perspective, your intellectual experiences, intellectual perspective, they can all now process information from this perspective. So you would think that nothing has happened in the video, but when you look at yourself and other people from this perspective, you're already beginning to burn calories, actually. move some weight. Yeah? So you would think nothing is happening, but a lot is happening. So this is enough for now. So we're just going to pause here.